And good morning, good afternoon, good night, evening, wherever you find yourselves right now. Hey, it's Dr. Dwayne Wood, y'all. And I am just now actually less than 12 hours away from the end of my 72-hour fast. And just wanted to come on and do a little quick check-in to let you know where I am, look over the numbers as we've been doing over the last 2 days. And to let you know that I am feeling great. I'm feeling amazing. We're going to take a look at my Dexcom, my Libre. Go ahead and check my ketones to see where we are. And to show you and to actually talk about what I'm planning to do for breaking my fast. As you know, I have been talking about fasting as a tool for managing chronic disease. In fact, I've been talking about some specific diseases. Here, I'm addressing patients who have type 2 diabetes, adults with type 2 diabetes, but it's not just them, because the things that I talk about, the things that we're going to discuss over the course of our month, over the course of the next weeks and year, are things that will affect so many different diseases. Because one of the problems that we run into is that in patients who have type 2 diabetes, we talk about this insulin resistance, right? We talk about blood sugars, we talk about insulin resistance, we talk about obesity. Associated with those things are prediabetes, metabolic syndrome, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, the potential for having coronary artery disease, and on and on and on and on. And so the things that we talk about in the management of our diabetes are also things that will affect patients who have a range of different disorders. And so adjusting your lifestyle with the tools that we're talking about will affect you as well. So if you're out there and you say, wait a minute, I don't have diabetes, don't tune out. Don't turn us off, because one of the things that we want to do is make sure that we're taking charge of our health and our life, avoid complications, and adjusting our lifestyle as it relates to patients who have type 2 diabetes will affect and bring good health for all of those things that we've talked about. All right. So anyway, so we've been talking about fasting, and my challenge to you has been to work your way up to doing a 24-hour fast. That's right, 24-hour fast, and that's once a week. If wherever you find yourself, wherever you are, if you normally don't eat for 8 hours, then make it 10. If you normally don't eat for 10 hours, make it 12. Just keep adding 2 hours until you're able to go for an entire 24 hours without any food that has calories. Of course, we're not doing a dry fast. We're doing a fast where you can drink liquids, remain hydrated, and we've talked about that in several of our check-ins and, of course, in our show to make sure that we are remaining safe. Okay. Now, there are some benefits to dry fasting. That's not what we're doing right now. We may come back and talk about dry fasting later, but right now we're talking about a calorie fast. So nothing that has calories. So you can drink fluids, you can drink tea without any sugar or honey or high fructose corn syrup, nothing with calories. A lot of people will drink black coffee. So lots of different liquids that you can drink, and those are things that you can do as we're doing the fast. All right. So I have, as I've been saying, I've been doing a 72-hour fast. That's right, y'all. 72 hours without any food. And we're going to look here in just a minute to see where my numbers are. Now, a lot of people say, hey, I can't do a fast because I'm on medication. And guess what? That's the point. That's the point of the fast, that we want to decrease your medication. We want to be able to eliminate some medication. And the challenge for us as we go through the year, many of you are going to be able to get off of your diabetes medication. Some of you are going to be able to cut back on your diabetes medication. But the ultimate goal is, how do we put our diabetes in remission? That is remission, y'all. And that's where we're heading. Okay, so let's hop over and let's take a look at what we have. As you know, I have my glucose meter. This I've been using to check ketones and also to check blood sugar, but I have my continuous monitor as well. So we'll come over and see what the ketones are, and we'll discuss that here in just a minute. All right. So last night, if you didn't watch my 54-hour check-in, we gave some tips for having a successful fast. And so you want to go back and you want to watch that. And then later in today, we'll come back and we'll talk more about how we're going to break the fast. Okay. So let's do that right now. Yeah, let's hop over. And why don't I start with where I am in terms of my Dexcom. So this is my Dexcom. And once again, we are just 12 hours away from the end, less than 12 hours away from the end of this 72-hour fast. And my blood sugar right now is 104. If you look down there on the graph, you'll see actually that the blood sugar actually took a rise. Right, and I'll talk about what that means. Let's look over to our Libre, and the Libre right now is saying that my blood sugar is 78. Right, so 78, and down at the bottom you'll see that red part of the line, that my blood sugar actually was below 70. So the bottom of the line right there is 70, and when you see the red, that means it's below. But you notice that after the red, there's a little peak right there, and I'll come back and we'll talk about what that is here in just a second. So let me go ahead and hop over, and as we do, go ahead and do our finger stick. Okay, so we'll start today with the glucose, and so I've got that here, and as you know, I don't use a Lancing device. I just simply use the Lancet and massage that drop of blood. Okay, and I'll continue to massage because we'll need another drop here in a minute. All right, so 81 is what this guy is saying. And we'll take that strip out. And this one is our ketone strip. And go ahead and apply that drop of blood. And we should see that with a number here in just a few seconds. All right. Okay, and so 3.6. And so let's hop over and take a look at our app. And so that app will pull the glucose in. All right. And actually, let me hop over to this one so we can see all of them at the same time. And so that's what the meter shows, is a 3.6. And then over on our app, you'll see it pulls it in, and 81 with the blood sugar, and 3.6 is the ketones that it found. So let me go ahead and pull up our graph. And if you watched our show last night when I did my check-in, one of the points I made was, so right here, that was 12:06 p.m. yesterday, 12:06 p.m. yesterday. And over the course of the fast, we started out here somewhere. Let's see. I think right about, no, that was Sunday. That was Monday. And here's Tuesday morning. That's about 2 o'clock. Perhaps it's this one, right? So before the fast, right, you'll notice that my blood sugars are high, a high 109, right? Because we want people to, we tell people we want the blood sugar to be between 80 and 100, 80 and 99, really. And the ketones are low. And over here, you'll see that my ketones, it crossed. Right, as I've been fasting, the blood sugar has come down, the ketones have gone up, and of course now ketones are 3.6, and blood sugars are 81. All right, so that's where we are in terms of blood sugars, and in terms of our monitor. What I want to do is, let me hop over, and I want to pull up for you the graph, actually a big graph that shows you where the blood sugars have been. Okay, so because if you remember on the monitor, there was that period where the blood sugars went below 70 and then they came back up. And so a lot of people are like, wait a minute, you have been fasting for all this time. If the blood sugars go down, why would they come back up? Because you're not putting anything in. And in fact, there was a pretty noticeable spike there on both of the monitors. So this one is coming up here in just a sec. And actually, why don't I show you that so you can see what well, there it is. Okay, so here is my glucose meter. This is the Libre. And let me get my mouse so that you can see that. Okay, so this is the Libre. It's a Libre 3, one of the continuous monitors that I wear, and I wear 2 of them, if you recall. And here, my average blood sugar over the last 2 weeks has been 94, right? So it's from January 13th to January 26th. Average blood sugar of 94. My glucose management index, which is a surrogate for the A1C, right? So I can't call it the A1C, and we can't call it the A1C, but if these blood sugars continue at this range, then this thing is A1C of about 5.6, which is actually pretty good. Yeah. And then the other thing I look at when I look at these monitors is I look at the time and target, right? Time and target, and the target is 70 to 180, depending on, well, not depending. If you read the guidelines, that's what they say, 70 to 180. I usually tell patients that in the morning when they wake up fasting, I want their blood sugars to be between 100 and 120. It's a little tighter, but you know, we'll discuss that at another time. And so right now I'm in target 90% of the time. Part of the reason that I'm not 100% is down here at the bottom. Right, I am having lows, and those are lows that you will see. We'll talk here in a minute that are in keeping with the fasting that I'm doing. Right, and so that's 10%. So 10% lows plus 90% in target. That means 100% of the time I've not had blood sugars that have been elevated. Right, so up here 0, high, or very high. All right, so let's go down and let's actually now take a look at our actual numbers and look at a graph. I do see, hey, Jeff, how you doing? Let me hop back over there and just say hello. So Jeff is with us. And let me pull that up. And Jeff says, have you ever checked how accurate the meter and 2 CGMs are to a lab blood draw? I check my meter while I'm having blood work or blood draw, and the Libre 15 minutes later. No. So Jeff, I've never done that. I've never done a at the lab check my CGM at the time when I'm getting blood. But I love that. I love that idea. I hadn't even thought about that. So the next time I do blood work, I'm going to go ahead and make sure that I note what my blood sugar is on the monitor and the CGM at the same time. So that great. So that's why I love the community, right? So you guys have great ideas. All right, so let's hop back over and let's take a look at what our graphs look like. And so let's see the last 4 days. Right, so Tuesday, and I started to fast Tuesday evening, and that's right about here, right? And so then we've been going all Tuesday evening, and then all Wednesday, and then all Thursday, and then into today. Okay, so that's what we've been seeing. All right, and what I want to do is I want to kind of zoom in, if this thing would allow me to do it. Well, what I wanted to do was zoom in on this section right here. Okay, because you'll see that, and it doesn't show the red color, but right here, those blood sugars are actually below 70. Below 70, and then you'll notice a rise to where I am right now. And according to, if I go back to this glucose meter, right now it says that my blood sugar is 81, right? So we were below 70, and then now it's 81. And a lot of people sometimes will get confused with that spike that they have in the morning. And that spike that we have in the morning is probably due to what we call the dawn phenomenon. And you'll see it actually started maybe around 6 o'clock, where that rise, a little bit before 6, where that rise happens. And so for us as humans, somewhere between 3 and 4 o'clock in the morning, so right in here, the body begins to start to wake you up. And so during that process, it's pumping hormones into you. And hormones are those things that help to regulate the body. Most things in the body don't work without hormones, right? So I know I'm an endocrinologist, and so I'm a little biased, but right. But if you study most of the systems in the body, there's a hormonal component to a lot of them, right? And so to get us woken, the body begins pumping us full of hormones, and those hormones have the intention to get energy to get us going for the day. So growth hormone, cortisol, adrenaline, all of those, and the function of them is to go find energy so that you can get ready for the day. So you can imagine, if I'm pulling energy or finding energy in and putting it into the system, then we're going to have a rise in the blood sugar. And a lot of folks in the morning, they'll see that rise, and it's sometimes a little confusing. Like, wait a minute, I haven't eaten anything all night. But where's that coming from? Now, having said that, let's back up and let's have another conversation. So this actually goes to show, right? It goes to the point that your body is able to sustain you even if you haven't eaten for a day, for 2 days, and in my case, for 3 days, we'll see. Okay. So even as those blood sugars have dropped into the below 70, the body still has enough substrate, still has enough energy, still has enough stuff in it that it can actually bring my blood sugar up. And that's what we're seeing here. One of the things that is actually very exciting when you're doing a fast, particularly if you're monitoring your blood sugars, and you are trying to force the body to change what it uses for energy. And what I mean by that is, one of the things that happens during fasting, and the same thing that people who are doing these ketogenic diets, what we want to do is we want to force the body to have to use some other source of energy other than sugar. So when you eat, for the first 5 hours, the body is digesting the food that you've eaten. When that happens, when that's done, right, if you don't eat for the next 24 hours, some of that food is still being used, the energy from that food. The other thing that's being used is the stores that it has in your liver, the glycogen. It's breaking that down to make sugar. Well, after about 24 hours, that's when that goes away. So up until 24 hours and a little after for some people, the body has no reason to begin burning the stores that are in the fat cells. Come on now, right? So up until that point, you're still using the food that you ate today or yesterday within 24 hours. So it's not until after that point that the body then switches to burning the fat stores, and that's when we begin to see improvement in our weight. So if people say, "Wait, I've been fasting and I'm not losing weight," for some people it's not a long enough fast. Now, having said that, anytime you decrease what you're taking in, it decreases the insulin that's in your body. So if your blood sugars, if you're not putting food in, if you're not eating a lot, right? If you're not eating those 6 small meals that people tell us that we should eat, if you're not doing that, then the blood sugars are going down. They may not drop significantly, but they are going down. And as they go down, then our insulin level improves. And as insulin improves, then we begin to see the benefits of decreased insulin, which goes to polycystic ovarian syndrome, metabolic syndrome, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, risk for coronary artery disease, obesity, all of those things are improved because we're decreasing the amount of insulin that's in the body. Okay, so that's why I say that the information that we're talking about, not just for diabetics, right? We're talking specifically to adults with type 2 diabetes, but it has ramifications for so many other disease processes. Okay, we haven't even gotten into talking about autophagy and the improvement in the immune system. They've actually used fasting for treating some cancers, y'all. Fasting is used to treat seizures. So lots of benefits that are there. All right. And so let's see. So that was our Libre that we just looked at. Let's see if I can, I'm going to pull up for you so you could see what the Clarity app shows. And this is one of the other glucose meters that I use, or continuous glucose meters that I use. So I have a Libre 3 on. And then I have a Dexcom. Okay, so let's go ahead and pull that report up. All right, so here we are. All right, so similar information as we saw from the Libre. My average blood sugar is about 110 according to this one. And as you know, and as I've pointed out before, the Libre, Dexcom, a finger stick, all can give slightly different numbers. In this case, 110 is the average, is what it's saying, with the other CGM showing that I was at 93, I think is what it was. My glucose management index is 5.9, so similar to what we saw before. In terms of time in range, 93% time in range, and that means that I'm having some low blood sugars, okay, that make up the difference. And then let's scroll through. Let's see. Let's take a look at this guy. Take a look at this report. All right. So if I start by going, so here's Tuesday. And Tuesday, right at about 6:45, my blood sugar was 120. And over the course of, let me see if I can do this. Yeah. So over the course of the rest of that day, I kind of straddled 120, 125, okay, into the next morning. And notice we're staying in the 120s, and here's that phenomenon again, right? That dawn phenomenon, right? See, blood sugars are kind of hanging out, and they've been going down from the 120s into the teens, and then right here we get that spike, right, up to 148, y'all, without having eaten anything. And right at that point, I'm about 12 hours, right? So 6:45 the night before, and right here 6:46 in the morning. So 12 hours. Got the spike, and then look at this. Blood sugars are continuing to drop, right? So we're going down, 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 back into the teens. Now we're into the 100s, right? And look at that. There's a spike right there, right? That one, I'm not sure what happened. I don't have a good reason for that one, other than, let's see, that's 7 o'clock at night. I don't know. Maybe that was when I was doing getting ready to go live, right? And so down, 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 down. So now, wow, look at that drop, right? So now we've done, here is 24 hours at 103, and then we continue to drop, and then coming into Thursday morning, we're in the 90s, 80s, right? We spike up a little bit. And so here, once again, there's that rise that we saw, right? That dawn phenomenon. Look at those numbers, right? So just consistently in the morning. Now, this started at a lower number, right? So we didn't see as big a rise, but we still saw a spike right there. And then it kind of straddles that. And look at how long that lasted, right? So right at 6:46 right there, okay? And then that rise lasted all the way. And we're talking about going above 100. So we started out below 100, and we went above 100, and we kind of stayed above 100 for most of the rest of that day. And it wasn't until the afternoon that now we started dropping, right? And then look at that. So this I had not noticed about myself before, right? So right here, I'm getting a spike, right? I don't know what that is. And then if I go back here, right, coming up in the same kind of time frame, I get a spike. Let me go back to Tuesday. Well, yeah, so look at that. So I'm in the 110s, and then that spikes up to 130s. So right around the same time. So I got to pay more attention to what's going on right about 8, 9 o'clock. Maybe that's what's time I need to go to sleep. Okay. All right. So that was Thursday. And then now coming into Friday morning. Now, right here, you'll see a break. And the break here was I had to change my sensor. And if you... Actually, I didn't post that in the YouTube. I did post that in the Facebook group. So I had to do a break right here, and so I had to change my sensor out. And then coming into the morning, so we're in the 80s, right? So spike up a little bit there. That's probably when the hormones are starting to be put out. And then look at this. I'm in the 70s, and here's the spike coming up right here. Okay. And then this evening, I'll kind of show you what that looks like. But yeah, so that's an amazing, I guess, thing that the body does, right? An amazing process as it gets you ready for the day. Now, this happens for everybody, right? Most people don't know because we're not checking, for one, and then number two, most diabetics don't know, or it's more pronounced because the body does not know how to handle sugar. Right, so that's one of the things that we see. So the frustration for many diabetics is that the body's doing what it's supposed to do in terms of pumping you with those hormones, but then the rest of the system doesn't know what to do with sugar, and so the blood sugar rises. Right, and it's not uncommon. I know in my past, if I woke up with a blood sugar of, say 100 and 110, 120. By the time I got in the car and drove to the office, drove to the office, didn't eat anything, I would get to the office and my blood sugar would be 200, right? Because it's continuing with that rise. And that is definitely a marker of insulin resistance. All right. Well, that's where we are right now. Like I said, a little less than 12 hours away from ending the fast. And you've seen those numbers, see where we are. Ketones are rising. Let me get back to that graph. Ketones are rising, blood sugars are dropping, and we'll get to see what that shows here as we get into the rest of the day. All right. Well, once again, you should be heading into or moving into doing at least a 24-hour fast, and you are progressing. You're adding 2 hours to whatever time you have right now, and our goal is for you to be able to do a 24-hour fast. Make sure that you're talking with your healthcare provider. I'll come on, and I had a suggestion from someone that we actually do a 24-hour fast together, where I come on and we stay on for 24 hours. We'll kind of see if that's something that we can do. Would be an interesting day, right? I've got to find a day when I'm here, when I could spend an entire day just hanging out and looking at those numbers. But it would be very instructive to kind of watch those numbers as they change throughout the day. But so we'll talk about how and if that can happen, or what's the best way for us to do that together. But make sure that you're talking to your healthcare provider. Make sure you come back on Monday for our show that we do Monday, 7 p.m. Central. Last week we talked about medications that you want to get off. So what diabetes medications should you stop? This week we're going to talk about what medications you probably should talk to your doctor about putting you on. Right? And you're like, wait a minute, I thought we were trying to get off of medication. Yes, we are. But there are some benefits to some, and it helps us in the process of getting off of some other medication. Okay? All right, so we'll come back later and we'll kind of give you a check-in as we move through these last 12 hours of our 72-hour fast. This is Dr. Dwayne Wood, y'all. That's Wood with an E. The E stands for endocrinology. Here on the channel, I educate, I empower, and I encourage you to take charge of your health, your life, avoid complications, and go to the next level, creating the life you've always wanted. And in this year, new you. All right, we'll see you later.